The Milwaukee Brewers' recent relocation threat is further proof that Major League Baseball is operating like a criminal syndicate these days. Rob Manfred and team owners are trying to shake down the city of Milwaukee for $448 million to cover upgrades to American Family Field. This isn't to say that that stadium doesn't need to have some renovations, but for the league and league officials and Manfred and team owners to play the "we might move the franchise" card is farcical. It's a joke. The situation is a complete joke. The Milwaukee Brewers, well, they were the chosen team under the tyranny of Bud Selig. That has seemingly changed under his protege, Rob Manfred. The now commissioner has demanded nearly $500 million in public funds to fix up America Family Field, a ballpark he called great a few months earlier.
This is a gem of a ballpark, so that this great ballpark.
And if city and state officials don't come up with this cash, well, the Brewers' time in Milwaukee has dried up. Here's the deal with America Family Field. Yes, it absolutely needs some care. It needs to be taken care of. No one is debating that. For starters, ballparks must be up to public health and safety codes. We can't have Bernie Brewer falling through a slide now, can we? The stadium has been in operations for some 20 plus years now. There's bound to be some things that need to be fixed up. Plus, Miller Park initially had some really poor design choices. These have been taped over in recent times, but actual fixes are required. Additionally, the owner of the facility is required to provide upgrades under the terms of the Brewers lease. It is reasonable for the team to expect these to happen per contract terms. It is like if your landlord promises to fix something in your rental agreement, you'd expect it to get done. That is not unreasonable here. Besides, both team and government officials agree on what's needed for the renovation project. There isn't a bunch of debate happening here. So how do we get from that to the Milwaukee Brewers threatening to move away from the city? Well, it is just Rob Manfred trying to throw his weight around like a mafia heavy. Instead of letting the situation resolve itself, he interjected in the messiest and dumbest way imaginable. There is a time and a place for everything, and this was not the time nor the place to threaten Milwaukee with the relocation of its beloved baseball franchise. Why? Because it seemed like funding for these renovations was going to eventually get approved in due course. Yes, Wisconsin lawmakers already rejected one proposal that would have made this issue a thing of the past. Fun fact here, Republicans are the ones responsible for that. All of those conservatives who blame Oakland's liberal, Democratic-led government for the A's relocation are painfully silent right now. You don't have anything to say about that? Nothing at all? You gotta love the hypocrisy, don't you? Anyway, it is important to make one thing very clear here. This is not a pressing matter. The team's lease runs until 2030. There are years to get this funding over the line. Creating a false sense of urgency is one of the main reasons why the Milwaukee Brewers relocation threat is a shakedown. It's created on a false pretense. What is that false pretense? Well, there were those within the Brewers organization who've claimed it takes years to explore and implement relocation, which is why it is making the threat here and now. Let me state that again, just so we're all perfectly clear on what is being said here. Brewers officials are claiming that it takes years to explore and implement relocation. Does it though? Because the Oakland A's are trying to push through their own relocation after doing maybe a few days work. That, by the way, is a very generous estimate. Athletics leadership seemingly never looked at a map of Las Vegas until April 2023 and has fought to push through their efforts in a matter of weeks. Not years, but weeks. Someone here is clearly lying. It either takes years for relocation to happen or it can be done in a few months. You can't have it both ways. So either Brewers ownership isn't telling the truth or A's ownership isn't telling the truth. Whatever that case may be anyway, MLB is covering for it, and that is not cool. At this point, I don't even care who's forced to admit to lying, but someone needs to come clean here. The MLB process for relocation can either be done in a few months or it needs years to be completed, not both. Don't sit here and demand public money when you can't even get your own story straight. By the way, maybe fans and government officials would be more sympathetic to the Brewers' self-perceived plight if ownership wasn't pocketing millions of dollars in income annually. Forget about schools, roads, and other services that help the public. Rob Manfred and team owner Mark Anastasio want those funds so they can make even more money. This is why so many people are just fed up with baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers relocation threat is just a shakedown. But what makes this one particularly worse is that it is entirely superfluous. Those in the state were seemingly working towards getting this done, and it would already be done if it wasn't for conservatives' desire to grandstand instead of doing their jobs, but that's a whole other can of worms. Some have claimed Manfred is trying to send a message to cities when it comes to stadiums, but there is a much more powerful unspoken message being given off that he and owners are too dense to understand. What they are really telling fans is do not invest your money in us because we are not to be trusted. Let's say that quiet part out loud for once. It is becoming increasingly difficult to invest in and build relationship with these franchises that don't act in good faith. Why support an entity that cares not about the community it operates in, but only on getting what it wants in life? What's worse about all of this is the fact we end up back in this very spot 20 years down the road. In 2043, the Milwaukee Brewers will make another relocation threat as part of another shakedown, despite ownership having made millions of dollars in the process. It's so avoidably cyclical. We all know the Milwaukee Brewers shouldn't leave the city, and they probably won't. It doesn't make any sense. So why make the threat to relocate in the first place? That is not the right way to treat those who make it possible for baseball to exist. All this talk about MLB relocation and teams moving, it just makes me sad. Why does baseball have to be run by such dickheads? I don't get it. Hey, at least football season's almost here. That does it for me. I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback. Subscribe if you like, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.